Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I know a lot of you are thinking about if you're planning a trip to Maui, those car rental prices.
Absolutely. It's always a hot topic.
So we've gathered the latest info. We've got recent price checks, some historical data, and what the advanced booking sites are saying. This is all current as of late May 2025.
Right. And the mission today basically is to figure out if that Memorial Day price spike people expected actually, happened.
Exactly. And more importantly, to give you the insights you need to figure out the best way to rent a car there in the next few weeks. The big question really is, should you book way ahead or not?
Okay, let's jump right in because there's some surprising news right off the bat.
Yeah.
For this week, the one starting May 26th, 2025, that big Memorial Day price surge.
Yeah.
It mostly didn't happen. In fact, the lowest advertised price for a week's rental at Kahului Airport, OGG, is currently $196.
$196. Wow.
Yeah, that's Payless, economy car. And get this, it's actually down 14%, pretty big drop from just last week.
Okay, 14% down. What about off-airport? Is that still cheaper?
It is. If you're willing to pick up the car nearby, not right at the terminal, you could find deals as low as $170 for the week.
$170. That's definitely good news for travelers arriving now. So the holiday hike didn't really hit most people.
Seems that way, yeah. A pleasant surprise, I think.
But we should probably look at the different types of cars, right? It's not always the same across the board. What's happening at OGG specifically?
Good point. It's definitely not uniform. Mid-size cars, also from Payless at OGG, they're down too, about 9%, sitting at $244 for the week.
Okay.
Jeeps, though, from dollar, they're holding steady. No change, $305.
All right, so Jeeps are stable.
But here's where it gets kind of wild. Convertibles.
Ah, the fun cars.
Exactly. Payless convertibles are going completely the other way. They jumped, wait for it, 27%.
27.
Yep. Up to $632 for the week. And, this isn't new. It's the fifth week in a row we've seen convertible prices climb like that.
5 weeks straight? Wow. Okay, so there's clearly some serious demand for convertibles right now. What about the more practical stuff? SUVs, minivans?
Right. Standard SUVs, the regular ones from dollar, they're stable too, like the Jeeps. $285, no change.
Okay.
The bigger ones, the 7-seaters from Thrifty, they're up a little bit. Small increase, 4% to $334.
About.
And minivans, also Thrifty, saw a more noticeable increase, up 12%, landing at $398 for the week.
12%. So, okay. Convertibles, way up. Minivans and 7-seaters up a bit. But economy, midsize, standard SUVs, Jeeps, either down or flat.
Pretty much.
Wow.
So that widespread Memorial Day jump we thought might happen didn't really pan out for most categories.
Okay, so the current picture right now looks pretty good for a lot of renters. But what about looking ahead? What are the advanced booking systems telling us about, say, June?
Yeah, this is where the story kind of flips. When you look at advanced reservations, the data points pretty clearly upwards. Prices are trending higher than these current levels as we go into June.
Okay, how much higher are we talking?
All right, so for a week-long rental starting June 1st, the lowest we see advertised at OGG is $266. Off-airport is $216.
So a definite jump from the current $196 and $170.
Oh, yeah. Then look a week later, starting June 8th.
Yeah.
OGG is about the same, $267 forecast. And off-airport is similar too, $250.
Still up there.
But then mid-June, around the 15th, that's when we see a bigger jump. $324 projected at the airport and $239 off airport.
Okay, over $300 at the airport by mid-June.
And it keeps going. Week of June 22nd, the forecast shows $329 at OGG and $282 for off-airport rentals.
Wow, so a steady climb through June according to the advanced bookings. And you mentioned booking even further out, like 5 weeks from now.
Exactly. If you tried to book today for a rental starting, say, around June 29th, which is about 5 weeks out, those advanced prices are even higher.
Higher still.
Yep. We're seeing forecasts of $340 per week at OGG and a pretty significant $310 off airport. So, yeah, that definitely suggests peak summer pricing is, kicking in on the advanced systems.
Okay, this leads us right to that critical question for anyone planning a trip in June or early July. Do you book now seeing those rising advance prices? Or do you roll the dice and wait for potential last-minute deals? What are the signals telling us? It sounds conflicting.
It really is a bit of a puzzle because different indicators are giving us slightly different vibes. Let's break down maybe 4 key things we look at.
Okay.
First, we have historical data on last-minute prices.
Yeah.
Looking back at 2013 to 2018, prices usually bottomed out in early June.
Lowest in early June. Oh.
And then they'd kind of creep up into July. But gradually,
Mm.
Not like huge spikes all of a sudden. And that pattern, sort of fits with the upward trend we're seeing in the advanced bookings for June now.
All right, so indicator one, gradual rise into summer, matching the advanced booking trend. What's number two?
Okay, number two is also historical, same period, 2013, 2018. But this time we compared booking way in advance versus booking last minute for that early June to early July window. What we saw pretty consistently was that last minute prices tended to be lower than the advance prices.
Lower. Okay, so waiting paid off historically.
Usually, yes. But there's a key detail. That gap, the difference between advance and last minute, it got smaller as you got closer to July, especially around the 4th.
Oh.
So it suggests that if you're banking on a huge last-minute discount right on July 4th, you might be disappointed. Those last-minute prices might end up pretty close to what you could book in advance today.
Interesting. So waiting might save money in early June, but maybe not so much right around the holiday itself. Got it. What about more recent data? Indicator three.
Exactly. Indicator 3 looks at recent advance price movement, specifically from December 2024 up to now May 2025. And the really telling part was for Memorial Day this year.
Right, which we just talked about.
Yeah. The last-minute prices ended up being way lower, like roughly half of what people would have paid if they booked 5 weeks earlier.
Half.
Which, strongly suggests that the demand everyone expected for Memorial Day just wasn't quite there. The 5-week out advance price chart even shows this dip right after Memorial Day. Then it's kind of flat until you see that bump for July 4th. So the main takeaway here for you is, based on this recent trend, it seems pretty unlikely that last-minute prices in the coming weeks will actually shoot past the advanced prices we're seeing now for June and early July.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels like maybe waiting isn't that risky then, based on recent history. But you said there was a fourth indicator.
Yes, and this one kind of throws a small wrench in the works, maybe. It's just looking at last year, 2024.
Okay, what happened then?
In 2024, prices were pretty stable, kind of flat through May and most of June. But then, boom, a really sharp, significant increase right before the July 4th holiday.
Ah, a late surge just for the holiday.
Exactly. So this is the only indicator we have that really points towards a potential, major price hike, specifically for July 4th this year.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We have historical data suggesting gradual rises, but last minute usually beats advance, though less so for July 4th. We have recent data showing weak demand led to huge last-minute savings for Memorial Day, making it unlikely last minute will exceed current advance prices. And then we have last year's pattern showing a potential sharp spike just for July 4th.
That sums it up pretty well.
So what's the verdict? Book now or wait?
It feels like, while July 4th prices will probably be higher, there isn't a super compelling reason to rush and book way in advance right now, especially if your trip isn't smack dab on the holiday weekend.
Right.
There's a decent chance, based especially on the Memorial Day pattern, that waiting a bit longer, maybe keeping an eye on things, could actually get you a better deal.
So maybe monitor prices, particularly if you're traveling outside that immediate July 4th rush.
Exactly. For those who are okay with a little bit of, uncertainty, watching the prices and maybe booking closer to the date could be the way to go. As we saw with Memorial Day, the savings can be really significant.
Yeah, you mentioned those Memorial Day savings were pretty dramatic. Can you walk us through those numbers again, like booking 5 weeks out versus closer in?
Sure. The difference was huge. For that 1-week rental starting Memorial Day, May 26th, if you booked it 5 weeks before, around April 20th, you're looking at about $383 at the airport, $368 off airport.
Okay, almost $400.
Then, fast forward to 3 weeks before, May 4th, prices had just crashed. $220 at OGG and only $159 off airport.
$159. That's incredible.
It really was. Now, interestingly, in the final week leading up, prices did tick up a little bit to $234 at OGG, $211 off airport.
A slight rebound.
Yeah, but still way, way lower than 5 weeks out. And like we said, the actual prices for starting this week ended up even lower, $196 at OGG, $170 off airport.
So booking last minute or close to it saved people roughly 50% compared to booking 5 weeks ahead for Memorial Day.
Pretty much, yeah. About a 50% savings, a massive difference.
That really drives home the point about maybe not booking too early, especially if demand isn't as strong as predicted.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, the data seem to show that the real sweet spot for the lowest prices for Memorial Day was maybe 2 to 3 weeks out. Even though they went up slightly in the last week, they were still much better than those early bookings.
Got it. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. Airport versus off-airport rentals. The general wisdom is always off-airport is cheaper. Yeah. Is that holding true in Maui right now?
Typically, yes,
Hmm.
that's the rule of thumb. Off-airport places usually have lower rates because, they avoid some airport taxes and fees and maybe don't charge quite the same convenience premium.
Right.
But as we've talked about before, that pattern got a bit messed up over the winter and spring. Demand was super high, and the off-airport guys just didn't have enough cars sometimes.
I remember, yeah. So how does it look now? Late May. Are things back to normal?
Mostly, yes. Good news there. For this week, May 26th, that usual pattern off-airport being cheaper seems to be largely back in place.
Mostly. Any exceptions?
A couple of interesting ones. Jeeps. Right now, they're actually advertised cheaper at the airport.
Oh, okay.
And convertibles. We're seeing almost no availability for them at off-airport locations right now. So if you want a convertible, the airport might be your only bet, despite the high price.
Good to know.
But for the common stuff economy, midsize, standard SUVs, minivans,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll generally find better deals going off-airport.
Okay, so still worth checking both, especially if you want a Jeep or convertible, but otherwise, off-airport is probably the safer. Now, zooming out again, how does Maui compare to the other islands right now, cost-wise?
Yeah, let's put it in context. We looked at the cheapest one-week rentals starting this week, May 26th, across the main airports.
Okay.
Honolulu, H&L is around $253. That's actually down a lot, 26% from last week.
Big drop in Honolulu.
Yeah. Maui, OGG, as we said, $192, down 15%. Kauai, though, LIH is the outlier. It's $368.
Whoa, nearly double Maui.
Yeah, and it's up 11% from last week. That makes Kauai the most expensive for the third week running now.
Ouch. Okay, what about the Big Island?
Kona, KOA, and Hilo, ITO, are basically tied at $231. Kona had no change. Hilo was down about 9%.
So, bottom line, Maui is still the cheapest.
By a decent margin, yes. For the ninth week in a row, OGG is the most affordable major airport in Hawaii for renting a car.
Yeah.
That's definitely useful info if you're still deciding which island to visit.
Absolutely. Ninth week running, that's quite a streak. And just briefly, where does all this great data come from? How are you tracking this?
It's quite the process. We've been tracking prices really closely since July 2024. We look at 7 different car types from 10 major companies at OGG.
Wow, okay.
For economy cars, we actually go back even further to July 2023. And before all that, we did a big 5-year study from 2013 to 2018. The main websites we pull from for the current tracking are rentalcars.com and rentals.mauicarental.biz.
That's really thorough. It gives a lot of confidence in these numbers. So if someone listening wants to check the very latest rates for their specific dates, what's the easiest way?
Best bet is probably the cars and rates section on the blog where we publish this stuff, or just go straight to the booking site itself, rentals.mauicarental.biz.
Rentals.mauicarental.biz.
Yeah, that site lets you compare vehicles from 8 different companies: Ace, Alamo, Avis, Budget, Dollar, Enterprise, Payless, and Thrifty. And it covers all their locations, the airport, Kahului Town, down in Kihawailea, up in Kanapali.
So lots of options in one place.
Exactly. You can usually find something that fits your needs and budget. And importantly, most bookings there have no cancellation penalty, which is great if your plans change or if you book something and then find a better deal later.
That flexibility is key. Okay, fantastic. So let's wrap up this deep dive on Maui car rentals for late May 2025. Key takeaways. That big Memorial Day price surge mostly fizzled out, which is great.
Good news, yeah.
Advanced booking prices for June are showing an upward trend heading into
It's
summer.
affected, but yeah.
But the historical data, and especially that recent Memorial Day experience, suggest waiting and booking closer to your date might still save you money, particularly if you're not traveling right on the July 4th peak.
Right, the risk seems lower than maybe the advanced prices suggest.
And finally, Maui is, for the 9th week straight, the cheapest major Hawaiian island to rent a car right now.
Holding strong there.
So it leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you to ponder.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Considering these historical trends and how that Memorial Day price hike just kind of evaporated, how much of these prices are driven by what we think demand will be, booking psychology, versus the actual number of cars available on the ground in Maui at that moment?
Perception versus reality.
Exactly. Is there some kind of predictable sweet spot window for booking that savvy travelers can figure out and use to their advantage? Or is it always going to be a little bit of a gamble in this market, something to think about as you plan your own trip?